Hello.
Hey,
What's up?
not a lot. Been sitting here, tried 3 times to start. And
I thought I was ready and I wasn't. Thrice. But now we're ready.
okay.
We're talking about zombies today.
Zombies.
Yep.
Oh boy.
Because I was going to do that and then I didn't feel like it. And then here we are.
I like a zombie. Go ahead. Start.
Before we do that, is there any updates on the Fort Knox thing? Did they go look yet?
I don't think so. Not that I've seen yet.
We probably would have heard.
I was waiting to hear something on Trump did like a joint session of Congress speech there. And I was waiting to hear something about it. And I haven't seen anything. So.
Okay, there's also not been any updates on the thing that may or may not be Amelia Earhart's plane. Remember when we talked about that?
Yeah.
As of February 5th, there's still nothing has happened. That was the most recent article I saw. I guess the last news is that it could be several years for them to put together another type of exploration thing where they could go see what it is.
Yeah. I wonder why it takes so long to do that. Like you would
I
just
guess raising money maybe?
Yeah, but you would expect like, I don't know, like a Jeff Bezos character would just be like,
go figure out what it is. Here's the money.
Here's $2 million.
Somebody call Mr. Beast. He'll fund it.
Okay,
Funds
I'll call
everything.
Mr. Beast. And then he'll make a YouTube video about it. Like,
I sent 100 people into the bottom of the ocean floor
to look for Amelia Earhart's plane. And the person who comes up first gets $1 million.
And a piece of the plane.
Yeah. They get the propeller.
The propeller. Mounted on the wall.
Yeah.
Okay, so no updates. That's disappointing, but that's okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, you go.
So you said you wrote an intro. Are you gonna at the end do the Country Roads Creeps thing at the end of the intro? Okay, go ahead.
Are you ready?
Yeah, do that.
Okay, here we go. Though not initially as popular as vampires and werewolves, zombies have gained a lot of interest and attention in the media and pop culture. What is the origin of the living dead, and where did these stories come from? This is Country Roads Creeps.
Good. Very good.
All right.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Country Roads Creeps.
Please.
I also have a piece of business to say before we start the real episode.
Okay.
There is another podcast called Mountain State Mysteries.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the best. And they are always shouting us out on their Instagram stories.
That is
and
so nice.
Yeah. It's all the time I'll get a notification and it's them shouting us out on their
that's
Instagram
really
stories
cool.
and stuff. And so yeah, Mountain State Mysteries, and they just had a new season of their show start. I believe it was March 7th. So everybody can go check them out. They put way more effort into their show than we do ours.
Yeah, this is just like a hobby for us that we do for fun sometimes to talk and tell stories.
They do
We're
the formula. They have a formula that I really like where they actually build a script.
Yeah.
And lead you tell you about all the facts of a case.
It's like a production.
Yeah. And
this is not.
We do way more conversational than that. So it's a lot. We have a lot in common, being that we do creepy stuff and they do a lot of true crimey stuff. But they do put a lot more effort into their show than we do ours, and it's much more put together.
Yeah.
So please give them a listen. And they're always shouting us out. So
there was another one you had tagged. Was it Watch Out for Deer?
That was they had that on there. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The Watch Out for Deer podcast. Yeah.
Yes.
I admittedly haven't listened to them, but they're on my list of this week on my way to work listening. So
while we're shouting out podcasts, let's shout out.
Let's go through a list of all the podcasts we listen to.
Let's acknowledge Creepalachia.
Creepalachia.
They're doing big things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I hadn't.
JD, I think is his name.
Yeah.
Yep.
I hadn't seen much of their stuff. I've seen it before.
Yeah.
And I hadn't seen much of their stuff until this trial. Stuff. So.
Well, so there's some new people for y'all to listen to if you're looking for some other podcasts.
Please. Mountain State Mysteries. I wanted to give a special.
Thank you so much. That's really cool.
They're always supporting us, and they have a really good show. So
that's awesome.
Go listen.
Okay, ready to start?
Also, Country Roads Creeps. You can listen to Country Roads Creeps,
which you're doing right now on your preferred listening platform. Okay, good.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so let's start with what is a zombie? So in modern day pop culture, they're typically thought of as a corpse from someone that has died, but the body has reanimated to sort of come back to life.
Okay.
The person's soul is no longer present, so they're not there in the body, but the body's working again pretty much with the singular goal of eating living people, specifically their brains. Okay, so that's why they're called the living dead. A zombie apocalypse can be caused by a virus that infects people, and zombie bites are contagious and can cause others to turn into zombies if they are not killed and eaten. So if you survive like a zombie attack, but you're bitten, then you're also going to turn into a zombie. Interestingly enough, though, this is not at all how the story of zombies started.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot as I was writing this episode because I had no idea where this began. Do you know already?
Not really. I could probably venture to guess like some like old religious myths or something.
Kind of.
But I mean, I really don't know. I will say that like the zombie thing has evolved so much just in our lifetime.
Just like through movies.
Yeah.
It's changed a lot.
So like the brain eating stuff was very much like a mid 1900s thing, I feel like, for at least for movies and TV and stuff.
It's so weird to hear you say mid 1900s, but yeah, that's accurate. Crazy way to say that, but yes.
Yeah.
That was a choice.
So yeah.
But correct.
Yeah. But then like even to today's movies and stuff, it has a lot of similarities, but even now it's different. Just in
And we'll get into that a little bit later when we talk about the movies.
I don't know, 40 years or something.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So like I said, I had no idea about any of this, but zombie folklore actually comes from Haiti. And I got this information from the History Channel and from TED Ed, and it's super dark, has a very sad history.
Okay.
So get ready for a bit of a bummer.
Is this a voodoo thing?
Yeah.
I think I've seen this on like National Geographic or the History Channel or something. Yep. But
so what happened is between 1517 and 1804, France and Spain kidnapped hundreds of thousands of African people and took them to the island that is Haiti and the Dominican Republic in the Caribbean. And so as the African religions mixed with the Catholic beliefs from the French and Spanish people, it created a new religion called Vodou, which is like the same as voodoo. But Vodou is Haitian and voodoo is like in New Orleans.
Okay.
But pretty much the same beliefs, probably some like subtle differences there just depending on which location you're in. So Vodou is Vodou and voodoo is Voodoo. But basically same thing. So some Vodou beliefs state that when a person dies, their soul can be captured and stored in a physical object, like a jar or a vase or something, but it can actually be held in there. So it leaves behind a bodiless soul and a soulless body. They become two separate things.
Okay.
And so if the body isn't properly taken care of soon after death, then a sorcerer called a Bokor, I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that correctly, but it's Bokor, can take that corpse and turn it into a zombie that would do its bidding and be used as a slave. The sorcerer would be in control of it.
Okay.
And this was allegedly done with a concoction of some sort. So there were different things that could be mixed into a powder and given to the person to turn them into a zombie. Allegedly, one of the ingredients for this is the toxins from pufferfish.
Oh, okay.
So you probably already know this, but pufferfish is eaten as a delicacy in some places, but it has to be prepared very, very carefully so it doesn't kill you.
Yep.
So don't be eating pufferfish from just anybody. It needs to come from like a chef that knows what they're doing.
Right.
Yes. So this belief kind of shows how horrible slavery was for the African people in Haiti, because it showed that even like one of their biggest fears was that even after death, there would be no freedom. Because if a person was turned into a zombie, like their soul is not going into the afterlife and their body is still be using it as a slave.
Oh.
So that was kind of, it came from how horrible their conditions were.
So that's sad.
It is very sad. It's, like because of this, zombies in Haitian culture are seen as victims that you feel sorry for and you sympathize them. They're not seen as monsters.
Yeah.
It's a very different belief than like what we have today.
Right. But so that's sad.
Very sad.
But if you were turned into if you had your soul separated and stored somewhere else, and your body was used as a slave, would you know about it?
Yeah, I think so. Because
so?
I think the belief is that if your body wasn't prepared properly, then your soul is like not going to the afterlife. So you're like trapped in wherever it's
what I mean is like, would you know about your body, what it's doing at all?
Yeah.
Are you still connected, or are you just like stuck in?
I think both.
I don't know
you're
what.
Stuck, but you also have awareness that you're a zombie now.
Yeah, you're still working all the time.
Yeah,
that sucks.
Yes, it does. It's very sad. So the U.S. occupation of Haiti began in 1915, and this is when Western culture started to change the narrative of zombies. And a lot of this was due to Americans being racist towards the people in Haiti and like spreading stories that they were devil worshippers and participating in human sacrifice and this stuff that wasn't true, but because of just like the way racism was spread, it started all of this stuff. So zombies started to go from being victims to more of like the villains, monsters.
You could also probably see where people who don't really know would go to watch somebody see somebody doing voodoo and being like, that's devil worship.
Right. Yeah. Because they don't understand.
So obvious devil worship.
Yeah. That's the conclusions that they jumped to for sure.
I mean, still, you could show that to people and they would be like, that's devil worship. Mm-hmm. That's.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it wasn't helped that in 1932, there was a movie released called, you want to guess what this movie was called? I'm going to tell you. White Zombie.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Also, very good rock and roll band.
Really?
Yeah. They wrote Thunder Kiss 65. It was on Guitar Hero 2. Imagine my recall. Like just.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Rob Zombie, I believe, I want to say Rob Zombie was in that band maybe. And then later they broke up and then he just was Rob Zombie making Rob Zombie music and it's very good still. And then he's a movie director.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So in this movie, that's funny that you just had that at the top of your brain.
Completely off the rails, yeah.
This movie is set in Haiti, and the main character has to save his fiancée from an evil voodoo master. She gets turned into a zombie and has to be cured, and the film portrays the zombies as the villains or the monsters that they're trying to fight against, and it made the white woman the victim. So it's really kind of warped what zombies are and what they do.
Well,
go ahead.
Would you say that if the zombies are being controlled by an evil guy, and then he wants this lady to be a zombie slave, then even though they are all victims, then for that particular one singular case, the zombies are being used as the villains by the real villain?
Kind of, yes, but I think the way the movie was, there was also no sympathy for the zombies.
It's just...
Even though they were being controlled and like used against their will, they were still made out to be bad. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like I kind of said earlier, that movie came out in 1932, and during that time, in movies and books and things, werewolves and vampires were much more popular. Mm-hmm. But zombies did kind of start to gain traction a little later on. In 1968, there was a film that came out called The Night of the Living Dead.
George Romero.
Yes, so this movie did for zombies what Dracula did for vampires.
Good.
But what's interesting is that Night of the Living Dead never used the word zombie in the movie.
Yeah.
That just came later on from the fans that described them that way. They made the connection on their own.
It's just the type.
Yeah. Because, they were like bodies coming back from the dead. And
right.
And then in 1985, there was the movie Return of the Living Dead, and this is where it was established that zombies want to eat brains.
Okay.
So that was kind of like 1985. That's kind of a newer piece of zombie lore that was added on. If you would have
asked me when Return of the Living Dead came out and Night of the Living Dead, I would have both said 60s and 70s, but I didn't know it was that recent.
Yeah.
85.
So like 40 years ago.
Yeah. Golly. Shout out people who were born in 1985. You're 40 years old.
40.
Cool.
Yeah. So in starting with Night of the Living Dead and onwards, there's no Bokor or sorcerer that creates and controls the zombies. That has been taken out of lore in the Western culture. They're just monsters. Sometimes they're caused by a virus or something like that, but there's no longer the voodoo associated with zombie creation.
What caused it in George Romero's movies? Was it a virus, or was it just it happened accidentally? Or
I don't remember. Let me look really quick.
Good. Okay.
Talk.
Quick point about George Romero. He was featured in the Call of Duty Zombies mode in Black Ops 1, one of the DLCs, I believe. And George Romero was one of the characters that you would... I think he was a boss fight in that, I believe. If I remember correctly, back to my high school youngin' days when I was like 15. Anyway.
So the reason for why the dead came back to life in that movie is never completely explained, but there's a theory that it's radiation fallout from a space probe. And so then this other from livingdead.fandom.com says that some ideas are spaceborne virus, divine punishment, radiation from a satellite returning from Venus, or that there is simply no more room in hell.
Okay.
That's a little intense.
Yeah. So nobody knows.
But not a voodoo sorcerer.
Good. Yeah. Good.
So I'm going to give you some more examples of zombies in the media or pop culture. Here's some movies and TV shows in no particular order. This is just the way I put them in my notes. We have Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, The Walking Dead, of course, hugely popular. Did you get into that?
Yeah.
I watched it for a few seasons, and then I kind of lost interest somewhere around where they were living in that prison. I think is when I quit watching it.
I watched it for way longer than it was good.
Fair enough. That's where I'm at with Grey's Anatomy. That show has been on for way, way, way too long.
Is it still making episodes?
It's still on.
Really?
All the main characters are gone mostly. There's like 4 originals.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I'm trapped watching it because I've been watching it for so long. I've got to see it through and know how it ends.
Yeah.
And I wish it would end because it's been bad for like 12 seasons. But
yeah,
it's just the way it is.
The Walking Dead I still think it was good through the prison stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I was enjoying it.
And a controversial opinion, I think it was still good through all of the Negan stuff.
See, I don't think I know what happened in that just from like reading about it, but I don't think I watched up to that point.
Yeah, I think it was still reasonably good. I stopped watching after that, I think.
Did you read the comics?
No.
Me either.
No.
So I think
I don't read.
It deviated from the comics pretty far, is what I've heard.
Yeah. From like season 1, people were complaining. They're like, this isn't anything like the comics. And it's like, who cares what your stupid book says? Don't care.
Oh my gosh. Okay, there's also World War Z, which was a book first.
Brad Pitt.
Yep. I've seen the movie and actually haven't read the book.
Was it Brad Pitt?
Yeah. I think so.
As soon as I said that, I was like, that's wrong. It's another
I think you're
guy.
right. Yeah, it's Brad Pitt.
Okay. Yeah.
I put this one in here for you, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. I know you're a big Scooby-Doo fan.
I love that.
You loved Scooby-Doo.
That is my favorite Scooby-Doo of all time, actually.
Is Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah. I like when Shaggy and Scooby are in the airport and they're doing contraband church and they eat the cheese. And I like when they go to that lady's house and they're making sandwiches and the zombie writes on the wall, the zombie ghost.
That's funny.
Captain Morgan.
Well.
And then it turns out, first of all, it's not a spoiler alert. The movie's been out for 25 years.
Yeah.
The ladies turn out they're cats. They're cat people, and they make zombies to keep people away from the island.
Like zombie security guards?
I don't remember.
Or just scaring people?
They make people into cats, but though, yeah.
Okay.
So,
I love Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
There's also been some zombie comedies. We have Shaun of the Dead, Zombieland, of course, Zombieland 2. I really like Zombieland. It's so funny.
Yeah. That movie, I think, I don't know if people know this, but I do marketing work a lot. And one of the things when I was in school is that Zombieland and other movies that have a similar. There's a theme that goes along with like product placement in movies, and now that I say this, the next show or movie that you watch, you'll be able to see like anytime they mention a product, it's like that was paid for them to do, or like
so like the Twinkies thing is what you're getting at.
Yeah.
Zombieland.
So or like anytime you see a specific vehicles or something, like if they're using Jeeps or if they're using Dodge Ram, it's paid for. They're not. Most of the time, especially for like larger film productions, they're not just accidentally choosing to use certain vehicles. Like the ones that the main character uses are paid for. And either a rep from the company will show up and be like, hey, we'll give you X amount of dollars to make the main character drive a Ford Focus or whatever. Or they will go to a company and say, hey, we need a car. Can you provide it and pay us to advertise your car in our movie? But the Twinkie thing in Zombieland is they're always looking for Twinkies, and so it was written into the script, and it was almost something else. And
Twinkies paid more, or Hostess, whoever the
I think it was, if I remember correctly, it was almost Oreos.
That's funny.
And I think Twinkies paid more, and so it was some outrageous amount for the time. That movie came out in like 2007 or something, and so maybe 2008, but they paid a lot to have Twinkie sponsor that movie. But anytime you see any kind of product placement, and a lot of times, like now that it'll be obvious. You're going to
see it, yeah.
They'll put like the wrapper down, and it'll be like the Reese's cup wrapper, and it's perfectly placed so you can read
focus,
it.
Yeah,
and
Okay, there's another comedy that I feel does not get as much love as it should because it's so funny, but it's called Little Monsters. And it's about this kindergarten teacher that takes her class on a field trip, and there's a dad chaperoning. He's trying to like be a better parent or whatever, so he's not super involved or familiar with the kids, but he goes with his son. And while they're on the field trip, the zombie apocalypse happens. So they're trying to like guide all these 5-year-olds through the place that they are and like get them to not touch the zombies without scaring them or telling them what's going on. And it just cracks me up because it's aside from the zombie aspect, obviously, it's so real on the way you deal with little children.
Yeah.
And like the kindergarten teacher has a ukulele or something with her, and she's playing it and singing this song and getting the kids to sing along about not touching the zombies and keeping your hands to yourself and stuff. And it's hilarious. And it did not get as much love as it should have. So watch Little Monsters. I think it's on Netflix, but I'm sure you can find it wherever. Okay, and then Disney also has a movie series just called Zombies. I think there's 3 of them. Some of my students were talking about them and they had bookmarks. I don't really know what happens in those movies, but I'm sure it's not super scary because they're Disney Channel originals.
Yeah.
Okay, there's also been some games that feature zombies.
Yep.
We have Resident Evil.
Okay.
And
kinda. Yeah, it's zombies. I saw a meme. I'm sorry to interrupt you about.
That's okay.
We're
having a conversation.
I never played. So actually, 2 or 3 things that I'm going to interrupt you about. The other day, me and the girlfriend went to Buffalo Wild Wings.
Don't say the girlfriend.
The only one.
Say my girlfriend.
My old lady.
You're so weird.
I hate it when people say that. My old lady.
Me too.
Like, that's so odd.
Yeah.
My girlfriend. The only one that I have. Is it suspicious? I don't know how to say that.
I was about to say, like, why are you clarifying it like that, you weirdo?
The only one that I would ever have under any circumstances. Don't even look into it because it's so crazy that I would even have another one.
Oh my gosh. That's not funny. I'm so far away from my mic. That is not funny. I was like 4 feet back when I said that.
She's going to listen to it and be like, what does that mean?
Anyway.
Off the rails once again. So we went to Buffalo Wild Wings and I told the guy my last name and he was like, hey, do you play Resident Evil? And I was like,
a random question to ask.
I was like, what? And he goes, isn't one of the guys in Resident Evil that name? Like without trying to like say my last name, but not that it's not reasonably easy to figure out. But I was like, I don't know. I don't think I've ever played a Resident Evil game. And he was like,
I'm looking it up right now.
yeah. And he was like, yeah, I think that was one of the, yeah. Yep. So, yep.
What was the second thing?
I also saw a meme that was like the Resident Evil enemy creation is like a zombie, and then like the little boss fight is like a very large mutated zombie, and then like the even bigger boss fight is a mutated huge zombie with lots more arms and legs. And it's like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then another game is one of my personal favorites, Plants vs. Zombies.
Yep.
That game is so fun.
You shoot peas.
Yeah, I was hooked on it for a while. I haven't played it in a long time, but I made it really far.
I used to play it on the iPads in high school.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I didn't. I stayed in school.
That was before they had them. Okay, so the county that we went to school in was like one of the first to get iPads for all the students. And when they first rolled out, it was like the wild, wild west. There was no rules, no limits. You could do anything on those iPads. You had unfiltered access to whatever you wanted to do. I watched Netflix every day in chemistry because I always finished my work really quickly. And then I watched Netflix the rest of the time.
Mm-hmm.
We all played games. You could do whatever you wanted on these.
Yep.
And then they slowly started realizing that was a problem. And then by the time we graduated, they were so locked down, you couldn't do anything without permission. But the first year we had them, that was awesome. We had so many games.
This is the only year that I had it.
Yeah.
So.
By the time my sisters graduated, you couldn't do anything on them. But remember that other game? It was like Giant Boulder of Death or something. And you had that huge boulder that would roll down the hill and you had to try to destroy everything in your path. You would tilt the iPad. Mm-hmm. That was a popular one.
Yep.
And then they started locking it down and you couldn't watch Netflix anymore. So people were using VPNs to get around it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was fun.
I used to play one of those like idle farm.
Yeah.
And you would I would just let it run and like do my work. And then when something would pop up, like, oh, I got to harvest my wheat.
Yeah.
I would play one and I would spend all day just doing that because it was like, it like took, a few minutes at a time for something to happen. Cause it's like
they want you to pay money to speed it up, but can't.
But I would just do my work and then let it go. And then I had some teachers come by and they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I do my math work and then I harvest my wheat and I do more math work.
Yeah.
And it's fun. And it keeps my brain from freaking out. Yeah. And I remember, I won't say the name, but one of the teachers was like, oh, whatever works, I don't care. You have an A, I don't care.
As long as you get your work done, whatever. That's kind of how it was for both of us. Yeah. Like we just did what we needed to do and then they left us alone and let us do what we wanted the rest of the time.
Yep.
Okay. And then the last part I wanted to talk about for pop culture is probably the most important thing that everyone knows and remembers because it was iconic. And that is Michael Jackson's Thriller music video in 1983.
Yep.
That's actually been preserved. Dirk was teaching our baby that dance yesterday, actually. Yeah. So that's been preserved as a cultural treasure by the Library of Congress's National Film Registry because it was so influential.
That was, for a long time, the most viewed music video ever of all time.
Yeah, I believe it. What is it now? Do you know?
I have no idea. Look it up. Yeah, Thriller was good.
Most viewed music video?
Yep. Most viewed music video. And you could make the argument that it might still be Michael Jackson's Thriller because at the time, like now, you can have pretty much I don't know, I'm sure they still play music videos on TV, like at a certain times or whatever, but on some, I'm sure there's some channels, but now it's only pretty much YouTube and that's pretty much it. So you would have Michael Jackson's Thriller being played on MTV like every 10 minutes and people bought the DVDs that have the, you know, the extended version or whatever, and like the special edition version of the album with the, you know, the tape and stuff. And then it got put on YouTube, and it was one of the most viewed music videos still.
You're not going to like the answer.
Is it still the one, or who is it?
Baby Shark Dance.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm.
What's number 2?
Despacito.
Really?
Yeah.
What's number 3? How long until we get to Michael Jackson's Thriller?
Wheels on the Bus by Coco Melon.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Number 4 is Johnny Johnny Yes Papa. Number 5 is Bath Song. Number 6 is See You Again, Wiz Khalifa.
Okay. So these are all like, it's like the first.
Thriller is not in the top 30 anymore.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
For a long time, I think it was number 1.
I believe you.
But now it's like all kid songs at the very top.
Yeah.
So
because the iPad baby pandemic, because people don't want to.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop there. I want to make a lot of people mad if I continue.
Well, also for like toddlers and stuff, and they put it on the TV, and the toddlers just sit there and watch.
Actually, no. I'm going to say it.
Okay, go ahead.
Quit giving your kids tablets.
Yep. Facts.
Talk to them.
Big facts.
Give them toys. Give them a book. Let them color. Give them some Play-Doh. Let them be messy. It is seriously a problem. Coming from a teacher who sees it, it's devastating, the effects that too much screen time is having on these children. They don't have any attention spans. The critical thinking is so damaged. It's very sad. If you just, and I know at times are hard and people have to work so much. I get it. I know it's hard. But if you look at brain scans of toddlers that have had a lot of screen time and that haven't, the physical formation of their brains are different. It's damaging your children.
Reach. So,
yeah, that's my PSA. Please limit the screen time. I'm not saying that you can never, ever, ever use it. I think there's a time and a place for everything in moderation. But please do not give your baby an iPad and just let them have it for hours a day.
Yep.
It's actively harming them. Okay.
Yeah. This is the part where, even though you gave all of the preface and the you know, the disclaimer and stuff, the people are still going to be like, you have no idea what it's like.
I know.
And
I know.
You know,
but I'm just,
whatever.
That's my personal opinion. Backed by science. Screen time is harmful. Got evidence. But anyway, let's move on.
I did see a thing on TV for kids is made like a lot of cuts.
Yeah, so it's like constant stimulation.
Yeah, it's like a much quicker cuts than traditional TV has been, or even like kids.
No, that's
cartoons.
A good point. If you're going to let your kids watch cartoons, show them the older stuff like Little Bear, Franklin,
Bugs Bunny, and Yosemite Sam.
Yeah, the older stuff is exactly like you were saying. The scenes aren't cut so quickly, so it's not.
They're not as bright and flashy and everything,
right?
Which I don't know that necessarily is as bad, but they've made TV now for the shows and the videos for little kids, little like babies and toddlers, to be so like energetic and stimulating so they cut it really quick and do different stuff all the time.
And they just like stare at it.
Yeah.
They turn into zombies because they're literally addicted to it. It's like drugs and they withdraw from it. It's crazy. Anyway.
Yeah. So speaking of zombies and kids, I think, and I might be wrong on this, but I think that The Walking Dead was the first show ever to show a child zombie.
That sounds right to me because I cannot think of any other time that's happened. When
they go to the farm, they go to the farm has that little girl.
Yep.
Locked in the barn.
Mm-hmm. Because her dad wanted to.
He thought
was hoping there would be a cure.
Them. Yeah.
Which is very sad.
Yeah, and the little girl came out, and then he shot the girl, and that was also like a very controversial part in the show. People are like, you shot, like nobody's ever shot a kid, you know, and it's like,
yeah,
but you just did both. You showed a child zombie and you shot it in the forehead.
Horrible. Okay, I'm going to move on to my next note. The CDC created a zombie preparedness website. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, yeah.
It was a joke, obviously. The main purpose of it was to encourage people to be prepared for other disasters. But the site was super popular because people thought it was funny and they liked it. It actually crashed at one point because it had so much traffic. And I believe it's archived now, but you can still find it and download it. And I did, in case you wanted to see it.
Okay.
It's kind of funny. It has like a comic that goes through this guy that when the zombie apocalypse happens. And then at the end, it gives you a checklist of things you should have for it, which would be helpful in any natural disaster.
Yeah.
Like a flood or whatever. Okay. That's all of my main talking points about human zombies, but I knew that was going to be kind of short, so I also wanted to talk about zombie animals.
Oh.
Like real life zombie animals.
Yeah.
Before we move
parasite
into kind of part 2 of this episode, is there anything else you want to say about human zombies?
No, I'll save it all for the end.
Okay. I also have something I want to say at the end, so remind me.
Okay.
It's about what I'm doing tomorrow.
Oh boy.
Okay, so zombie animals. I have 10 that I want to talk to you about. I got this information from livescience.com. And the first are roly-poly bugs. These are also called potato bugs or pill bugs. I prefer roly-poly myself. What do you call them?
Roly-poly.
Roly-poly, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably depends on where you live. So there's a parasite that lives in the intestines of birds called starlings. And when they get pooped out, the roly-poly bugs eat them. And then the parasite takes over the bug's brain and makes them act reckless. So they'll go out in the open where the starlings are kind of known to be and get eaten by them. And so then they get back in their intestines and the cycle just continues.
Yeah.
So that the parasite is spread around and around and around between the birds and the bugs.
Does it hurt the bird?
No. I think they're kind of unaffected.
Who cares?
It does hurt the bugs.
Let them live. Whatever. Bugs.
Yeah. Animal number 2 is also a bug, and this is the cockroach.
Ooh, I just saw a video about this.
Really?
Yeah.
All of these really freak me out so bad.
Did you know about cockroaches? There's only like 3 or 4 or 5 species that infest human homes. There's like 7,000 other species of cockroaches.
Oh, that's way too many.
And
that's way too many.
They're just bugs.
Ugh.
But so some of them are really cool. There's one that's like an emerald color, and it's very like shiny green color. And then there's one called the Death's Head cockroach, and it has a mark on its head, on the top of its head that you can see, and it looks kind of like a skull or like a jack-o'-lantern. And it's a natural marking that's there. It's like a stamp.
Okay, that is a little bit cool.
Yeah. But there's only like 3 species or 4 species that are in your house. There's thousands of other species that just live in the grass.
Well, it's funny that you said there's one called the emerald cockroach, because the emerald cockroach wasp is the parasite, I guess you would call it, that I'm talking about now. It'll stab a cockroach in the head with its stinger.
Okay.
It doesn't kill them, but its venom makes it so the cockroach can't move. And then the wasp lays an egg in its abdomen that hatches and eats the cockroach from the inside out while it's still alive. It just can't move. And then it like busts out of it. Horrible. Horrible. Hate it.
Yeah, I hate that.
Like, never thought I'd feel bad for a cockroach, but
yeah. How would you feel?
Today I do feel bad for them.
I stabbed you in the head, and then like another me busted out of your chest. I'm going to
stop you right there before I throw up. That's so gross. I wish you had not said those words. Okay, number 3, another bug. Carpenter ants.
Oh boy.
This one's insane. They get infected by a fungus, and the fungus messes with the ant's brain, makes it leave its colony, forces it to climb a tree, and it'll bite onto the underside of a leaf and just stay there until it dies. And then once it's dead, the fungus grows a stalk out of the ant's head and then spreads its spores around to infect other ants.
Ew.
Yeah, the picture is insane. It's like nightmare fuel.
Show me the picture.
It's so gross.
Show me the picture.
Hold on. Maybe this might be one we post. I don't know. It's really
cool. You need to send it to me so I can post it in the thing.
Look at this.
Okay.
This is disgusting.
Oh.
Ew. Isn't that awful?
Oh, no. Yeah, that's awful.
Yeah, I don't know if we were going to post that or not.
Yeah, no, we are. Send it to me.
Ew. Okay, number 4. Crabs. This one actually grossed me out more than the carpenter ant because of the description on the website where I learned about it. I changed the words, obviously, but it's nasty. So there's a barnacle that will get into a crab
Okay.
and grow into it.
Okay.
So they become like one. And it takes control of the crab and makes it take care of the barnacle like it's its child. So the crab will like protect the barnacle, clean it, and kind of, every time I say the word waft, I think of that Lego video we had to watch in science class where I was teaching lab safety.
Oh,
Where that
yeah.
one was like, waft with me. Well, okay. So the crab will waft water towards the barnacle to give it oxygen.
Okay.
And so even though the barnacle is actively killing the crab prioritizes the barnacle's life.
Oh,
Yeah. Which is
sad.
horrible. These are so awful.
Yeah.
What number am I on? 5? Let's see.
I don't know.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, number 5. Spider. A lot of these are bugs.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a spider, and I told you to
That
silence
was you.
before we
That was you. Your phone's right next to the microphone. I put mine way over here. I watched it.
Sorry, I jumped to conclusions because it's always your phone.
Yeah.
Was wrong, and I apologize.
Yeah. Thank you.
No,
Oh, no.
that's on me. There's a spider in Costa Rica, and like the cockroach I mentioned, it also gets invaded by a wasp, but that puts larvae inside the spider.
Okay.
But this larva makes the spider quit spinning webs, and instead it has it build a silk cocoon. And once the cocoon is done, I don't know how the larva knows, but somehow it knows when the spider is finished. It kills the spider and moves into the cocoon. And so it's safe up high away from the predators that would be down on the rainforest floor.
Huh.
That's insane that is something that can happen. I don't understand. Okay, the next animal are wolves.
Okay.
So there's wolves that live in Yellowstone, obviously.
Yep.
They're getting a parasite from infected cougar poop, and it makes them be reckless and risky. And so it's been observed that the wolves that are infected with this will leave their packs or try to take over as the leader of the pack. And so that leads to them getting in fights and getting hurt.
Question.
Yes.
Do you have the name of the parasite that's that?
Yeah, I didn't put it in here because I couldn't really pronounce it, but I'll find it for you.
Because is that the same as the cat scratch fever that people get? Because there's a thing that people will get that, like, the thing about you like the saying crazy cat lady. There's something to that because there's a parasite that cats will get in their poop, and then they use the litter box, and then if it gets somehow on you, it'll go into you, and then it'll make you crazy.
Okay. Yep. I'm actually talking about that a few animals down, and I didn't make the connection. I think cat scratch fever is something different, but what you get from the litter box is toxoplasmosis.
Toxoplasmosis, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is that the same for the wolf, or is that different?
It's either the same or something very similar, because it's called, for the wolves, it said Toxoplasma gondii. So that sounds similar, related, toxoplasmosis.
Toxoplasmosis is the disease, and I think Toxoplasma gondii
is the parasite.
Yeah.
Okay, yep. The next one is frogs.
Ooh, frogs.
Now, this one's a little different because male common mist frogs actually benefit from becoming zombies. So they get infected with a fungus that somehow makes them more successful at reproducing because it makes them have longer mating calls.
Okay.
And they have higher success rates of finding a mate and reproducing children after they're infected with this fungus. It changes their mating call.
Okay.
So that's just really weird.
Like they start going to the gym, they get
jacked.
Like they kind of
and then I guess that benefits the fungus because it leads to more frogs that they can infect and thrive in.
Yeah,
it's really strange.
Okay. So, well, go ahead. I'll save it for the end because there's a overarching thing at the end of this. So.
Next is cicadas. This one also has a disgusting picture.
Okay.
I should have left all these pulled up to show you, but they really grossed me out, and I closed them out of my browser as soon as I was done with the notes because it's nasty. So with the cicadas, there's a fungus that they catch or can catch when they emerge from underground, and it eats their butts and leaves behind just like these yellow spores. It's revolting, like absolutely repulsive.
It eats their butts.
Yeah, and then the fungus takes over their brains and makes them go reproduce frantically and it spreads to other cicadas.
Yeah.
It's just, I hate everything about that. Look at this. It's making me
Oh.
sick.
Okay. So their butt turns into mold.
Mm-hmm.
And then they...
Well, fungus. Yeah. Disgusting. What?
It did it again, and you said, "Oh, I'm sorry," and then it went off.
No, it
again.
didn't. It's on Do Not Disturb now. Look, I don't have anything.
Okay, maybe it was me.
That one was not me.
Maybe it was me.
I put it on Do Not Disturb after the first one.
I'm not doing that.
The next, my ninth animal here is fish. So California killfish get a parasite called a flatworm. And once it's in them, it controls their brain, makes them swim up to the water's surface where they are eaten by birds.
Okay. And then the birds get it.
They're like, yeah, and then they're pooped out by the birds and then get back into the fish circle of life. And then the last one, which is along with what you were just saying about the toxoplasmosis, was I put mice. They catch that parasite and it makes them lose their fear of cats. So then they are more likely to be eaten by the cats.
Yep.
Which this is the reason why pregnant women can't handle litter boxes, because if they're exposed to toxoplasmosis from the cat poop, it can harm them and their unborn baby.
Right.
So they can't change litter. Somebody else has to do it.
Yep.
Okay, so those were the 10 animals, but then I also put a little bonus down here that we've talked about before. Back in the episode where we discussed knot deer, we talked about chronic wasting disease, CWD. Yeah. I'm going to do just a quick overview of that since we've discussed it before, but for people that haven't listened to that episode, chronic wasting disease is a prion disease in animals with hooves. So this affects deer, elk, moose, reindeer, and prion diseases are the most terrifying thing in the world because you can't kill them. You can't kill the prion.
Cow is a prion disease, I believe.
Yeah, it is. And it's so scary because you can't, if you sterilize stuff that has these prions on it, it doesn't kill them.
Oh.
And they still spread and everything. So unfortunately, chronic wasting disease has spread to animals in more than half of the states in the U.S. There's no prevention or cure. It's always fatal. And super fun fact, it's unknown if it can spread to humans yet. We're not sure.
Good.
Terrifying. That's why there's all these PSAs to be very careful when you're hunting. And if you suspect there's something wrong with the meat that you harvest, you need to report it so it can be tested for CWD.
Yeah, the DNR will come out and take your deer and test it and make sure. And if it is, then they go and they have people that go out and they catch other deer to make sure that they haven't got it and it hasn't started affecting them yet. Yeah. So, it seems like every once in a while this will come out and people maybe not every hunting season, but there's every few hunting seasons there's. At least around here, there's a story that'll come out and people will be like, this is a deer with chronic wasting disease. And then there's a big PSA on the news about it. And then people start speculating that if you eat it and then you get it, then that's what would make people zombies. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the fear is that it could spread if it was eaten, but they just don't know for sure. And it has come to West Virginia. At the beginning of this year, there were some cases discovered. I know for sure it was up in Jefferson County. Yep. I'm not sure where else, but
that's all the time you'll hear about it. And then they kill them, and then they do something with the deer. I don't really know what they do.
They have to be really careful of how they dispose of it because chronic wasting disease can be spread through soil, water, and so you can't just dump it because it's going to infect the soil.
Yep,
and it doesn't die. So
I guess you'd have to put it in a incinerator.
Yeah,
and
then.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do with that afterwards.
But
hopefully they have a solution for that. Some symptoms of chronic wasting disease are, of course, wasting. It's in the name. So losing a lot of weight and literally just wasting away.
Hit me up.
Stumbling.
That's better than Ozempic.
Stumbling, drooling, listlessness. That's a hard one to say. Listlessness. Yep. Which is just being really out of it.
Can't number stuff. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Excessive thirst or peeing, drooping ears, and then lack of fear of humans. So this was one of the theories to explain knot deer that we went over in that episode. It's not good. It turns the animal into what you would say is a zombie.
Yeah.
Just wandering around with no goal, just existing.
Yeah.
Very sad stuff.
Yeah.
The end.
Good. So I saw a video recently about a cricket, and there's a cricket and it gets a worm, and then the worm grows and grows and grows. And you see those videos where the worm comes out of the bug and it looks like there's no possible way that a worm that size could have been inside that bug.
Gross. I hate
up and
those. Oh, it freaks me out so bad.
Yeah.
Badly. Very gross.
I did want to mention something that, so in video games, you left one out.
Mhm.
The best zombie video game ever to be made ever, Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2.
Tell us about them.
Left 4 Dead 2 and Left 4 Dead 1, for that matter, are zombie games, and they were really good back in the day before online play was like super prevalent, and like now everything comes where you can play online all the time, no matter what. Like Xbox 360 kind of started that, but on the original Xbox, and the early days of the Xbox 360, you pretty much was like, you just have your friends come over and play. But you could have up to 4 people on Left 4 Dead, and it had 4 characters, and you would go and you shoot zombies, and you try to extract into these different places. So there were like, you would go through an area and then shoot zombies, and there were hordes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had different types of mutated zombies that were pretty cool. So that was really good.
Sounds fun.
That was actually, so it's one of the games that features an interesting game design mechanic that if you're going to have, it is specifically, I guess, for bosses in games, but it could match for any kind of enemy in a game. You have like a triangle of, it's fast and it hits you really hard and it has a lot of health. And so, but you can only have 2 at a time. And so you have either it's fast and it hits you really hard, but it doesn't have very much health, or it's fast and it has a lot of health, but it doesn't do that much damage, or it does a lot of damage and it has a lot of health, but it's really slow. So it has some kind of weakness. Left 4 Dead series has an enemy called the Witch, and it has all 3. And so the only time that you would have all 3 is if it's an enemy that you're supposed to avoid. And that's what the Witch is in Left 4 Dead. You're kind of specifically supposed to avoid them and try not to aggro the Witch. And if you do, it's bad news.
Don't do that.
Yeah, they're hard to kill, and they move fast, and they hit you really hard. And it's just, yeah. But that, and then also, so you remember the vampire episode and the werewolf episode, and I mentioned Elder Scrolls Skyrim.
Yeah.
So there's zombies in that game too. And actually 2 different kinds. You have the Draugr, and Draugr is, I think, like an actual thing in Norse mythology, that they're people that are buried in a crypt, and then they guard the crypt. So if people come to like grave rob or something, that they would get up and kill the people that are trying to grave rob. They're like defenders of a burial place. So that's neat. And then also they have necromancers in that game. So you could necromance somebody.
Scary.
And then they would do your bidding, I guess. So,
like the sorcerer that makes the zombies.
Yeah.
Scary.
Also, the Dark Souls series of video games, which I love, is specifically based around being undead. So it's like the whole mechanic about it.
Was there something else you were going to add that you said was the overarching theme?
Oh, about the animals. Mm-hmm. So how do you reconcile, like, if you're, like, because we're both religious, we're Christians, how do you reconcile God making horrible, horrible parasites that infect bugs and birds and stuff?
Well, I guess it's just the part of the nature thing that everything has to eat, and they have to survive too. And there's a balance, there's a balance in the ecosystems of life and death. So I don't know.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. I was like,
it's like mosquitoes. Do we really need mosquitoes? But
Noah took them on the ark.
He did. So there's a purpose behind that. There's a reason for everything.
And it's to spread malaria. Just kidding. That's a joke.
No. There's a lot of stuff that we're just not going to know the answer to until we get to heaven.
Yeah, great.
I don't know. I wish I had a better answer for you there.
Yeah.
I don't
know the answer. It does, I don't know, it kind of makes you think, like, what about sea lions? You know?
What about sea lions?
I think they eat penguins, right?
Yeah.
That's probably, people are going to be like, sea lion is actually in the northern hemisphere and a penguin is in the southern hemisphere. They actually never see each other. And I went to school for marine biology. Shut up.
Oh my gosh.
And so now the comment is going to be, actually, sea lion is in the southern hemisphere, penguin is in the northern hemisphere.
Penguins are definitely in the south. I know that for a fact. Polar bears up top, penguins is at the bottom.
Polar bear is not up top.
Yes, polar bears are up top.
Really?
Yeah, polar bears and penguins never see each other unless they're at a zoo.
Whoa. Mm-hmm. Imagine.
I do know that for sure.
Hear me out. Imagine, listen. You go to a zoo to see animals you can't see normally, right? Mm-hmm. You would go to like a wildlife preserve or something, and you would see animals that you don't normally see. Mm-hmm. How would it feel to be an animal and you're like, I've never seen, like, a polar bear. Polar bears are violent, eat everything. Mm-hmm. How would you feel to be like a polar bear in a zoo and you're like, I've never seen that, but it looks tasty?
Yeah. Well, like that, I think that happens because there's some zoos where they let the penguins go out and walk around. They take them on like little enrichment walks and they get to look at the other animals. So in a zoo, a polar bear has probably seen a penguin. A penguin has seen a polar bear.
Whoa.
And I actually just saw an article yesterday or the day before that this giraffe got out of its enclosure. It was a 3-year-old giraffe. And they found it was just chilling, eating leaves out of a tree.
No way.
Yeah, it was just hanging out, eating some leaves.
There was a kangaroo in West Virginia recently.
Really?
Yeah, you didn't see that? West Virginia is one of those states.
I did. I forgot.
You can have a kangaroo.
I totally forgot about that.
I got out and it was running around locally. So I'm surprised that somebody didn't like see it in their yard and be like, that's a funny looking deer. Yeah. Shoot it.
Okay, before we wrap this up, we're coming up on an hour. I want to tell you about what I'm doing tomorrow because I'm kind of scared about it. Like, to be honest, this is not a joke. I'm actually kind of scared.
Okay. So I'm ready to make a deprecating joke about it.
Provide encouragement. And let me say, in the grand scheme of things, this is not an issue. There's much more serious things happening. But my little personal life,
I'm switching from Netflix to Hulu, and I'm really worried that it won't have
in my personal sphere is something I'm worried about.
Okay.
So I mentioned in a previous episode, this has been a while back, that I was probably going to have like a gum graft. And so I found, because the way that my braces were done when I was a kid, which is fine. Like, I'm glad my teeth are fixed. They were really messed up. But the way they were done is they kind of pulled my teeth forward to the front of my gums, which leads to gum recession. Okay. So I have a couple teeth, like 3 or 4, where the gum has receded kind of badly. And it's getting to the point where if it continues, I could end up losing those teeth. The gum goes down much farther, which obviously I don't want to lose my teeth. So I went to see this specialist dentist, oral surgeon person, and they said that they're going to do a gum graft on those. I think it's 3 or 4. And there's 2 ways that this can be done. They'll either take tissue from the roof of your mouth to do it, or they'll use cadaver gum. Yeah. And I'm very, very scared about it because this person uses cadaver gum tissue.
And you're going to have a haunted mouth.
Yeah. And so I'm an organ donor. I don't have any issue with that. I would be happy if my body could help somebody someday. But to be the recipient of that is really freaking me out for some reason.
Yeah. Okay. Question.
And I am feeling some sort of way about it. Like, I'm being vulnerable on the podcast right now. I'm feeling very emotional about it. And I can't really explain what I'm feeling, just that I'm really uneasy. Yeah. But I have to get my mouth fixed. Like,
understandable.
I can't let it go and lose my teeth. That's not an option. It has to be done. But I don't love how it's going. So tomorrow is kind of like a pre-op thing. Like, they're going to do a deep cleaning of my mouth, and then I have to use this special mouthwash for a month. And then I'll go back in April and they'll do the actual gum graft procedure. But I'm just sharing that out. I don't know why. I just felt like sharing that. That is something that I'm uneasy and I'm nervous about it.
I mean,
I don't know. I feel really sad that it's someone that went through. It might not have been a tragedy. It could have been someone that just like died of natural causes.
I think they don't take organs from people that died in tragedies. I don't know.
Well, it depends on the tragedy. Like if somebody is in an accident and they're brain dead, then they can have their organs for organ transplants.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It just makes me feel weird that somebody else's loss is what is going to help me. And for something
and I
not
make you
serious.
feel better by telling you that that's an extremely Christian idea.
Yeah, but I mean, I do love Jesus, and it just feels weird that it's someone's loss is helping me with something as small as my teeth. It's not like I need a heart or a lung or something to stay alive.
Teeth are pretty important, though.
Yeah, it's just a weird feeling to have. I've never been through anything like this before.
So with a graft, if you have a skin graft, then they would take a piece from your back or something and put it on your arm. And then over time,
like your leg or something.
Your arm will grow. It'll blend in with your
yeah.
So
they'll
supposed to it'll
stitch the gum onto mine, and it will just incorporate itself. Hopefully, that's the idea. If it goes well,
incorporate itself. So you said you're an organ donor.
Mm-hmm.
In 70 years. When you die and you donate your organs, if they take that piece of gum, then that's somebody might have two cadaver gums removed later on. So
to help someone else, maybe.
Yeah, and then they'll be an organ donor and they'll have 3 people's gums. That'd be pretty neat. And how many gum grafts can you do before? This is question about the ship of Theseus. If you had cadaver pieces put onto you, and every bit was somebody else's cadaver piece, how many before you're not Hannah anymore?
Oh my gosh!
Does that make you feel worse? I'm sorry.
Anyway, I think that's all for today. No, yeah. So that's just a little update in my life. It's really not important in the grand scheme of things. It's not that big of a deal. Just something that's on my mind right now.
When I was 16 and I got my license and they ask you if you want to be an organ donor, the lady looked at me dead in my face and said, "Do you want to be an organ donor? It's a really important." And I was like, okay,
Sure.
I guess so.
I mean, I'm not taking my organs with me to heaven. So if they can help someone else here, then take them. It's just strange to be the recipient of them for something that's not life-threatening.
Well, your teeth might get infected, won't they? And then
that's true.
You'll get a bad mouth, and then
it would lead to a whole host of problems if it's not fixed. It's just strange.
I wouldn't think that you're taking away from somebody else who would need a piece of cadaver gum.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would almost feel worse about if I needed a cadaver heart. And then
someone else wasn't getting it.
Yeah, what if some little girl needed a cadaver heart and I took it away from her?
Yeah.
I'd feel worse about that than a gum.
That's true. It's not life or death.
So
I'll let you guys know in a month how that goes.
Yeah. Then
and also a part that I'm really not thrilled about is that there will be stitches in my mouth for 4 to 6 weeks, he said. So I'm getting it initially done over spring break. So the early on recovery, I won't have to be talking a lot at school.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that's going to feel like or look like as I guess I think kind of just dissolve out.
Probably won't be as bad as you think. Honestly.
Yeah, I've talked to someone that actually listens to our podcast, has had this done.
Okay.
But hers was done with tissue from the roof of her mouth.
Okay.
But she said it really wasn't that bad of a recovery.
Yeah.
I'm probably making myself more nervous about it than I need to be. She said it didn't feel great, but it wasn't as bad as she was expecting.
Do you think that if I donate my skin when I die, that somebody else will get sick tattoos? If they, do you think a scientist would have the wherewithal to just cut out the tattoo part? you know, and then
Okay, we can look into that a little bit, maybe. We'll research that.
do you think they would be like, oh, we only need like, you know, this piece, and so we'll just cut out, you know, around that one tattoo, and then that person will have a cool tattoo?
Getting grossed out again.
So another question, would you be upset, like, if you had something that had like a burn or something, and they were like, do you think they would give you the choice of like, you can have normal skin or you can have a tattoo now?
I don't think they'd use the tattooed portion.
I would ask for a tattoo. If I ever need a skin graft, I would ask, like, do you have any tattooed skin?
I hope that never happens.
Choose from. And then, what if it's a bad tattoo? What if it's a that says, it's like a heart and it says mom, and you're like, that's lame.
Gosh. And they put it on upside down.
This is wow.
Okay, let's end it there. I'm creeped out, grossed out, uneasy. Good episode.
Okay,
Wrap
be
it
safe,
up.
drive it home, watch out for the nut, dude.
Bye.